Everyone, to another broadcast of In the Trenches. I'm really excited to have on our show today Paul Miners of paulminers.com, who is a productivity expert. Paul, thanks so much for joining us on In the Trenches today.
Hey Tom, no problem at all. Thank you very much for having me on the show, and yeah, really keen to talk about productivity. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So I guess start from the top. I'm going to give a little background on how I found your work. I had just heard somebody had referenced Hal Elrod, The Miracle Morning, and I'd heard this name again and again from different people. So I was like, okay, I'm going to search what this book is. And when I searched it, I found you at the top of Google, basically, for Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, book summary PDF. So I checked it out. I saw you had this book and a bunch of other books that you'd created summaries for. So I immediately signed up, and I was like really blown away by your book summaries and by the free content that you offer, like in and around productivity. So I just thought that was really remarkable. So tell me a little bit about why you built the site and kind of your strategy behind what you're doing.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and it's kind of a long story. I actually finished reading the 4 Hour Work Week for like the third time at the beginning of last year, so coming up to 2 years ago. And I was like, right, I really need to do this now. I really need to kind of find a way of creating a passive income. And one of the things Tim Ferriss, the author, talks about in the book is the benefits of selling digital products, and how it's very high margin. You don't have to deal with manufacturing or logistics and things like that. And so I started getting obsessed with like the the digital product space, and looking at ebooks and online courses and things. And so started following all the kind of typical people online, like Pat Flynn, got into listening to Fizzle and different podcasts like that, and just learning as much as I could about digital products. And I started on productivity because I actually just found that it was a topic that really resonated with me. And when you look at all these resources and listen to these people, they all kind of say the same thing, which is that you have to follow your passion and do something you really care about. You really need to be solving problems and helping people that you really care about. You can't just kind of find what you think is a good opportunity and create like false content that you don't really believe in. You have to really back yourself, because it is a lot of work as well. It's far from passive at this stage. Like it's a lot of work to get websites up and running. So
Yeah.
I thought about what kind of interests I have, and productivity for me has always been something that I've been very interested in. And I'm a believer in, like, I just want to get the most I can out of life, not just in the work that I do, but in terms of like my health and my fitness, and being as effective as I can, and just achieving all of my goals. And I find that productivity is the perfect vehicle that supports that idea of just getting more out of life. If you can be more effective and you can be more efficient, those skills, that mentality applies to almost everything that you do. So that's why if you're in business or design or programming, anything, it just applies across the board. So that's really how I got started on productivity, and I just started writing about it on the blog, and just to see if it was something I could keep up with, and it just snowballed from there. I met people online through Twitter, and just sharing my content, and the feedback has been really great. People love the content, and in terms of the book summaries, being someone who's kind of really interested in this idea of self-improvement, I read a lot of nonfiction books. And I started writing a summary for, I think the first book I wrote a summary for was How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And I
Yeah.
just wrote literally like a summary of the key chapters and like the key principles that you need to remember, just for myself. And I kept it inside Evernote, that I could easily refer back to if I needed to. And I was keeping them in Evernote, and I was writing them more and more for different books that I was reading. And I thought, well, hey, I've got this website now. Maybe I should just put them up online for other people to use if they want. So I started uploading them, and eventually, on looking at Google Analytics, I found that I was actually receiving some organic traffic for these kind of keywords, like the Miracle Morning PDF and things like that. And so I then thought, this PDF keyword is appearing quite a lot. Maybe I should reformat each summary, each blog post into a PDF which people can download. So yeah, I started doing that, and I put it behind an email opt-in. So it's a great way of getting subscribers, and it's just continued to grow and grow as I upload more summaries. The organic traffic just grows, and it's kind of just snowballed from there, really. And so yeah, that's kind of the story of how I got started with the website and on productivity and all the summaries. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's it's awesome because how simple, but how effective and how useful. from the standpoint of the reader. Obviously, I found the book summaries very useful because as much as I'd like to read every book that I find, I just don't have the time. So I have to be more selective about that. But it's nice to get a really solid book summary, and then that yours was free, so it was a no-brainer to sign up. So what are you doing? Now that people sign up, what do you do next with that? What are you building here? What's the end game for you?
So I'm currently working on a product called the Personal Productivity Toolkit, which is it's a complete set of resources that people need to learn how to be more productive. And so the main content is delivered through an ebook. It's called the Personal Productivity Handbook. And for those people that have heard of Nathan Barry and the work he's been doing with his books and things like Authority and the App Design Handbook, my product is very much following a similar format because I read Authority and all his stuff is fantastic, and I really enjoyed Authority, and so that's very much what led me down the path of creating this product. And so yeah, it's an ebook. You get an audio book, coaching videos, interviews, worksheets, different resources like calendar templates, and all this kind of good stuff that teaches you about how to create a productivity system, I call it. So something that really supports the work that you're doing. And so that's the product I'm working on at the moment, which is launching at the end of October. And yeah, that's very much where my focus is at the moment.
Cool. So and so you've applied the Nathan Barry's I guess system from Authority to this, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I highly recommend his book and just the advice he gives around how to format your content and how to market it, and the importance of email as well. Obviously, he's now working on ConvertKit, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm not currently a member of, but I really want to switch to ConvertKit when I can, probably after the launch,
Yep.
because yeah, he just drives home the importance of email. And actually, yeah, you asked about what happens after people sign up for the summaries. So I've built out an automation workflow where people sign up for the summaries, and then I kind of send them a few follow-up emails where I introduce myself, because I have to remember as well that people have found these summaries just through Google. They haven't come looking for me. So I then need to actually take time to introduce myself and say, oh, hey, Tom, thanks for downloading the PDF. And I say, it sounds like we're interested in the same kind of books. If you're interested in self-improvement, you should check out my blog. I blog about productivity. And then I kind of just start sending them content that I've been producing from the blog. And so I what I do every week is I add an email to my workflow with my
Mm-hmm.
latest blog content, but anyone new subscribing has to go through all my previous emails first. So there's about 2 months worth of emails that they would receive without me even doing anything before they actually get my latest email, if that makes sense.
It makes absolute sense. Yeah. And so,
Yeah, so it's
yeah. So, I'm actually really curious to dive into that. I'll circle back around to some of these other topics, but since we're on the topic of autoresponders a little bit, I'm actually looking at doing something similar. I'm definitely actually restructuring my newsletter and making it a little bit more sophisticated with more proper segmentation and stuff like that. I was using Mailchimp before, and it was basically awful for that. And I've switched to ConvertKit, so I would actually say, yeah, ConvertKit's awesome when you get the chance to switch over. Definitely check it out. But as far as this, the one thing I have not done really is create. I have done e-courses and I've done like digital email courses as autoresponders when people sign up to certain lists, I guess you could say. But I have not done just a generic one for anybody who signs up to my stuff. So tell me a little bit about the pros and cons of doing that. Like you have 2 months worth of content. That's awesome. And that you don't have to create that content now. But what's been the results? Do people stay engaged? Have you gotten a good response from that? Like, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think the response has been generally good. I've seen an increase in email traffic to my website since doing it, because I'm not just sending a one-off blast to my entire list at once. And it's also a good thing because someone new subscribing to the list, I can actually send them. I can kind of gradually build up the type of content that I'm sending. So I'm not kind of blasting them with really intense stuff all at once, or all sales emails all at once, kind of thing. So I can actually control the message that they receive and kind of tell a bit more of a story gradually as they become more and more aware of me. And so yeah, I've seen that the email traffic to the site has been growing because I'm not just sending these one-off blasts. People are gradually getting emails every week. And actually, I was recently on holiday. I was actually on honeymoon in Bali, and obviously I wasn't doing as much work on the site. I was just publishing a few posts, but it was nice because I received emails from people who they actually reply to my emails. and they say, "Hey, Paul, thank you for this week's email. It was really useful," or "Thank you for teaching me about Evernote," or "Thank you for explaining your weekly review," and things like that. And so, just in terms of that really personal engagement has been much better as well. And I always encourage people to respond to my emails. In fact, I have a free email course. So this is kind of the other lead magnet that I have, which is called the 7-Day Productivity Plan. And that's it's 7 days worth of emails that kind of takes people through a basic productivity system and how to create a more productive lifestyle. And in the very first email there, I say, "Hey, please respond to this email and tell me, what is the biggest problem you're currently facing, and what do you want to learn more about in terms of productivity?" And I tell them I reply to every email I receive. And so I get emails every day from people who are signing up to this course. But I think it trains them. It trains them this into kind of developing this habit that they can email me and that I will reply, which means when they receive the later emails in my automation workflow, they feel more confident about replying to me because they know that they're going to get an answer. And so I've developed some really great relationships with people on my list who are reading the emails on a regular basis and then jumping on the blog and commenting as well. And just the personal connection has been so rewarding. Like, I've enjoyed it so much, just being able to help people through the email courses and the emails that I've been sending. It's one of the most rewarding things I've done, and the feedback has just been incredibly positive. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. And so when does the Personal Productivity Toolkit launch for you?
So the date is going to be October 27th. That is Pacific time. So I'm actually in New Zealand, so it's 28th in my mind. But because most of my traffic is from the US, it's the 27th of October. And I'm looking at I'll be releasing the exact time later on my
Hmm.
blog. But yeah, looking at 27th of October at the moment.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about your strategy going forward with this. How are you intending to roll it out, and what are your expectations or predictions in terms of results?
Gosh, yeah. Well, in terms of the strategy, so I'm going to be releasing, and this is all, a lot of these ideas have come through Nathan Barry's content on his blog, which is amazing, and Authority, which I highly recommend. But yeah, I'm going to be emailing my list next week, so it's the beginning of October at the moment. I'm going to be emailing out a sample chapter from my book, and that's going to go out to everyone, and just to say, "Hey, Tom, check out this sample chapter from the book I've been working on." And actually, sorry, I should back up. I should explain that I've actually been teasing people about the product for a long time. I've been putting up blog updates about, like, this is what I'm working on, this is how it's coming together, and tweeting about it. And people already know it's coming. So, and I've been teasing people for a long time. But next week there'll be an email going out with the sample chapter, and so that'll be for people's first opportunity to really, get a sense of what's inside the book and inside the download. And then the following week, there will be a case study going out from one of my users who actually tested all of the content and kind of gave me feedback. So there'll be a case study going out. And then the week after that, which will be 1 week before launch, there will be one of my expert interviews going out. So I'm going to be giving out 3 kind of freebies before the launch. This is all via email. And then the day before the launch, I plan to send out a kind of sales email, which will detail, the product and the problem I'm solving, and how I think the product is going to solve that problem, and who it's best suited to. And in that email as well, I'm going to have, I need to put this together in the next few weeks, but I'll have a sales video as well that people can watch. And I think it's really good to get yourself on video, and people can hear your voice and see your face,
Mm-hmm.
and just I feel like it adds a bit more credibility to your message, instead of just sending emails. So that'll be the day before the launch, and then yeah, it'll be a simple launch email with a link to the download on the day, and I'll have a discount available for 24 hours when I launch, and that's kind of the strategy for launch. Yeah, and in terms of expectations as well, it's really tough to say. I mean, obviously, I'd love it to do really well. I'd love to do perhaps like over $5,000. But it's very hard to say because it's my first product, and I have no idea how it's going to perform. So fingers crossed for a good result. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's kind of fun. So, and how big is your your email list actually, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, totally. Because I publish this every month. I do a monthly report, so I share the numbers all the time. But it's currently at about 4,700, I think.
Cool.
Which I started growing that at the end of February this year. So
Cool.
it's grown really well.
Wow.
Mostly through the book summary emails. Actually, people finding me on Google and then signing up to get the summary downloads. That's been my biggest driver uh,
Awesome.
of signups. But the challenge with that has been trying to get the people who are interested in the summaries actually interested in my productivity content.
Hmm.
And so I imagine there's a large portion of people on my list who they just wanted the free summary. They don't care about the other stuff that I'm doing. And so um, it's I've very much with my email workflows. Yeah, I try and educate people about who I am and productivity and the importance of that and how it can help them. So that's kind of one of the challenges I've tried to deal with. Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. So if I sign up, how do I um, sign up to make sure I'm a part of, to view and to be a part of this launch and so I can get your product?
Yeah, I think the best thing to do is head to paulminers.com/7 days. That's the number 7 days. And that'll take you to the 7 day productivity plan. And so you'll get an email a day for 7 days, which takes you through kind of what I consider to be the basics of productivity. And the email course very much prepares you for what's going to be in the ebook and the download. So the product will just expand on all of those ideas. And so yeah, it's kind of the email course is the tip of the iceberg, and then the product will go into a lot more detail and depth. And so that's a great way to start. You'll get to learn about who I am, and you'll get a taste of the kind of content that I've been producing, and you'll get a taste of the ideas that I talk about, which will later be developed in the ebook. And yeah, as of next week, if you were to sign up today, you'll start receiving the freebies and the sample chapters and things like that.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, and I really like the design of your website. Did you do all this?
Yeah, I downloaded a theme. It was from themejug.com.
Hmm.
So not one of the typical. I know there's a couple of much bigger theme sites out there, like gosh, I can't remember to think of the name of the one I'm thinking of. It escapes me now. But yeah, I found this site and I loved the themes. They were very kind of clean and simple, and I like the kind of more minimalist design. And so
Hmm.
I've customized the theme a bit myself. I'm not a programmer by any means, but I've learned a little bit of CSS along the way, so I've been able to customize the look and feel of the site a little bit. But
Hmm.
yeah, I've just tried to keep things simple and create a good user experience. And so I focus on trying to improve the speed of the site where I can and things like that. And yeah, I mean it's just been an evolving thing, just gradually improving the site where I can, and it's a lot of fun as well.
Awesome. Okay, cool, man. So once this launches, I know this is probably where all your focus is. What is next after that? Or do you have any ideas about that? Or are you just focused on the launch right now?
So far, mostly focused on the launch. I think the next steps are very much going to depend on how I do. I know that what I will do is I will rework my email workflows. So people signing up to the 7 day plan email course, they will then, after that's finished, they will then get the opportunity. They will then receive a few sales emails, which will point them in the
Mm,
direction of the Personal Productivity Toolkit. And I'm going to try and work in some sort of discount there so that they will be able to get, because they've gone through the email course recently, they will be able to purchase the download for some discounted price. So I'm going to work out how that's all going to work. But yeah, my intention is that the emails will lead people towards the download after they've finished the email course. And then in terms of future products, I mean, I'll see how the launch goes, and I'd love to, keep producing content around productivity, or as my audience grows, perhaps diversify my topic a bit more into other areas. Yeah, guess we'll see.
that's awesome, man. Very excited for you. I'm definitely going to check it out, and I'm definitely going to send people your way. I'll have to expedite this if I can to make sure it goes live. You said by the end of this month, so very cool, awesome. Well, any pieces of advice for somebody just starting out? I mean, I I think the way you're getting traffic organically is pretty amazing. I mean, the fact that I found you because I was searching, um, Hal Elrod's book, and you're basically like number 4 or 5 on Google says a lot. And I think that's pretty awesome. Even if you didn't intentionally do that, I think it's incredible. But any piece of advice for somebody, I guess, trying to grow their list or starting from scratch, because this was just an idea of yours, wasn't it? Like maybe a year ago.
Yeah, it's amazing how fast time has flown by and how the site has grown. I mean, I've got a long way to go, but it's been a lot of fun, and it's great looking back to see how far I've come. It's been a lot of fun. So, in terms of advice, yeah, I think one of the biggest things is just follow your passion, and find your own style. Don't
Mhm.
try and necessarily. I mean, there's lots of blogs out there, so it can seem a little bit intimidating. How do you find your niche? And actually, that's one of the reasons I kind of built the site around my name, paulminers.com, is because for me, that's my point of difference. It's just me, it's my personality, and I write in the first person, obviously, and I'm just trying to develop a relationship with my readers and have them develop a relationship with me personally rather than a brand. And it also allows me to diversify later on if I want to. So right now I'm talking about productivity, but there's no reason why I couldn't talk about online marketing or business in the future, and that could all be done under paulminers.com,
Mhm.
which might not be the case with like, I don't know, productivity.com or whatever it was. So I think that would be the first thing, is just like follow your passion and find your own style, and use that to kind of differentiate yourself, and then just work really hard. Like, it is a lot of work, and I mean, I have a full-time job, so balancing this around that is tough. And obviously I still want to have a social life and things like that, so I actually get up very early. I get up at like 4:45 each day so that I can work for an hour before I need to kind of get ready and head off to work. And then I work in the evenings as well, and I do that pretty much every day. Even on the weekends, I'm spending a good deal of time on the site, and so I just stick with it. It's going to take time. It takes a long time to build traction and to get a bit of an audience, and you just really have to stick with it. And again, that's why I think it's so important that you follow your passion, and do something that you care about, so that your writing is almost like just for you. And it's like, you shouldn't really care if anyone sees it. I mean, obviously that's great if they do, but you should just feel happy about producing good content, and then that's going to keep you going, compared to just writing about some topic you think is going to make yourself money. So yeah, there's a bundle of tips there, but do something you care about, stick with it, and just work really hard. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it. There's not, I guess, not really not much to add beyond that, except that a couple things I will point out is that I love the idea of using your name from a branding perspective. It's actually, I actually kind of felt like it was a cop out for me at first, because I was like, oh well, I have a lot of different interests. Like, which way do I want to take this? So I had that like internal battle of, do I go with tomworks.com, or do I use another name, right? And I'm actually really glad I went with tomworks.com, because again, it made it much it was much less pressure on me to try to fit something, or if I got bored of something. And honestly, now that I've been doing this for over 2 years, I think it's coming on 3 years or so, I've definitely like shifted my focus on some of the things that I work on. And so what's cool is that obviously my platform is going to evolve with me. So I think it's a great, I love that piece of advice, hearing it from you. And I like what you're doing with your platform, Paul Miners. I think it's great. And I'm excited to see you blow up here in the near future, especially with this new product.
I hope so. I hope so. And actually, something I'd love to add to that is, I actually had my domain name. I think everyone, if yourname.com is available, you should buy it, because
Hmm.
it's like so cheap. And you never know if you might want to do something with it one day. And actually, that's how I got started. It was like, a friend of mine was just like, "Oh, you need to buy your domain name if it's available. Otherwise, I'm going to buy it, because and then you're going to have to buy it off me." So I went and bought paulminers.com, and then I didn't do anything for a few months, and then I was like, "Oh, maybe I should do something." So I just set up a free like WordPress.com site. So and you can just put your own domain on a WordPress.com site. So this is before you actually go to a self-hosted option, which gives you a bit more flexibility. And then, yeah, I literally just used the site. It was very basic, like no custom theme or anything like that. And I just started writing about anything that I wanted. So it was random stuff. And actually, I think most of the posts are still there. So you can even go back to my site now and see the very early stuff I was writing about, which is all just like really random topics, and like how we lost our cat. And I used Evernote to find the cat and stuff like that. It's really funny. So, and I just wanted to just to have something which I could play around with, and I think it's a great way to start. So going back to your earlier question, is just buy your domain, set up a basic site, and just start writing about anything that interests you. And then I think that's a great way to then find your topic and find your passion. You might find that you really enjoy writing about rugby.
Hmm.
I only thought of that because it was the Rugby World Cup on this morning. So yeah, you might be writing about rugby, and just you might snowball from there, and start writing more and more about rugby or something. So I think it's a great place to start. Is, yeah, just buy your domain, if your name as a domain if you can, and if you rebrand later, that's cool. And just but use it as an opportunity. Just play around and see what you enjoy.
Awesome. Love it, Paul. And if for everybody listening, hope you got a lot out of it. Head over to paulminers.com and check out his work. Definitely sign up for his newsletter and get his book summaries. Super, super great content, pure value. Really love it. So again, Paul, thanks so much for being on the call with us today, man. It was great.
No, thank you, Tom. It was really good chatting. Thank you so much. 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 Good chatting. Thank you so much.